Welcome to 49ers After Dark. We're your hosts, Cohn, Jessie Naylor. Usually we're doing this show kind of messing around in the middle of the week, but the Niners play tomorrow night. Right in 24 hours, they'll be like at halftime or maybe approaching that. So that's exciting. A game tomorrow, and Brandon Ayuk might play in it despite injuring his clavicle, not breaking it just a few days ago. Do you think the Niners should rest Brandon Ayuk in this game?
And I think they've got an opportunity to do that, in my opinion. And I think they should, because if it comes down to Brandon Ayuk, he's going to want to play. The way that I see it is the 49ers are supremely talented when it comes to playing the Giants. And the Giants also are so depleted. They are missing 2 offensive linemen, Saquon Barkley. Yeah, including their left tackle, Saquon Barkley, and a defensive lineman, an edge rusher, Ojulari, who's pretty good. I think this game is set up for the 49ers to win. They should win this thing big. I don't see any reason, if there's even 1% chance that you think Ayuk can extend this injury and make this worse, you can't play him. I wouldn't play him anyways.
And he's like the only key player on the starting lineup who's injured. Like,
yeah.
Debo's out there, Kittle's out there, McCaffrey's out there. Everyone's out there. Bosa's back. They should be able to win this game without Brandon Ayuk. I mean, he didn't make a huge impact last game when they won. They scored 30 points. I think they can score 30 points without him. Aren't they talented enough to score 30 points without him?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, they basically did last week. He was a decoy out there. Purdy didn't even play his best game, and they still put up 30. It's like, who's stopping them from scoring 30 at this point? I just can't see it happening. The 49ers should be able to win this game going away. And Brandon Ayuk is so crucial to the rest of the season. I just don't see why it's worth any risk. Now, maybe, just maybe, he's fine. It was a stinger. He's over it. He's 100%, and they're being cautious over these couple days. In that instance, play him. But I can't imagine that that's the case. I would rest him.
Agree. I'm just wanted to point out that a few days ago, the Cardinals put up 28 on the Giants, and their best offensive player is
Dobbs.
Dobbs, like Rondale Moore. I don't even know. And then the week before then, the Cowboys put up 40. So I think they can do it. I remember last year the Niners went into Atlanta, rested a lot of players who were kind of hurt and lost. This isn't that situation. One guy.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Atlanta was a different story because there were so many players out. I think they were down like 5 defensive starters going into that game. And there was one point in that game where they had 2 defensive starters on the field for a drive. That's how bad it got. Players just kept getting injured. Travaris Ward got injured. Talanoa Hufanga got injured. There was already a ton of injuries. So at that point, it made sense. Like, well, yeah, of course. When all your talent's gone, you're not more talented than the other team. This is not that case. Brandon Ayuk, rest him if you can. It makes all the sense in the world to me.
I mean, it's a 10.5 point spread. You think they cover that?
10.5? That's what it's up to? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot in the NFL no matter what, but yeah, I gotta imagine they do. Home opener. You got an East Coast team.
Starting left tackle or their starting left guard. I don't know, man.
You've got an East Coast team that I think they were in Arizona last week, but regardless, an East Coast team that has been on the West Coast for almost 2 weeks, short week, tons of injuries. No, the 49ers should win this going away. No doubt about it.
They should win this going away. Give Brandon Ayuk the day off. So it's a Thursday night game, home opener, kind of surprising early in the season. It's home Thursday night. Do you think this is beneficial to the Niners?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, big time beneficial. Not only because traditionally when you play on Thursday night, there's some good and there's some bad. The bad is that you've got to turn around very quickly. After you just played a game, you really don't have time to rest, game plan, what have you. The good is you have this mini bye week. The way I see this game, and if it plays out the way that I think it will, the 49ers should be able to rest quite a bit of their players the second half of the fourth quarter, maybe even more potentially. And if that's the case, it's an easy night for your big time players. really you've got almost a full bye week in front of you, the way that this thing's going to play out. You only get one bye week throughout the season, and that is coming a little bit later. But if the 49ers don't get that number one seed, especially if they don't get that number one seed, this week here can prove to be so beneficial throughout the whole season, Grant. I really think that this is an advantage. And not only that, it's the first of 3 straight home games for them. After this stretch, they basically alternate home, road, home, road.
Sure.
So this whole stretch right here, this 3 games, is very, very important overall. And this rest going into the final 2, I think is crucial.
Yeah, I see that. If you got, you got to have a Thursday night game. So good to have one early in the year. What sucks about the Niners schedule is they have 2 of them this year.
2, yeah.
2. They got one on Thanksgiving as well. So I don't know. You got to have them at some point. At least it's the Giants. At least they're at home. And at least they're 2-0. They should win this game.
Not only that, though, Grant, they really are kind of screwed by the schedule because I think last year, first of all, they didn't play on Thanksgiving. They had Thanksgiving off with their family. They had Christmas off with their family. This year, they have the Thanksgiving game and the Christmas game. These players are humans. They've got families. They've got little kids. That is a time they want to spend with their family, and they're going to have to play on both those days. That's a major disadvantage. Major disadvantage.
Major. Sorry for the Giants. They stayed out on the West Coast, did they not?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, there's no point. If you could you imagine going from Arizona to New York and then back in a 4-day time span? They had to have stayed out here.
It feels like the only chance they have to win is Daniel Jones running for a lot of yards. Maybe hitting a couple big throws.
Well, that's the other thing. Traditionally, the 49ers don't do well with these mobile quarterbacks, Grant. But when there is nobody else that you've got to check, there's no way that he's going to run wild. I got to imagine that they're ready to corral it. And not only that, my opinion, Drake Jackson already is kind of an advantage for the 49ers. I think that he can be key towards holding these mobile quarterbacks in check this season because he's so athletic. But when Daniel Jones doesn't have Saquon Barkley and he's without 2 of his offensive linemen, I just can't imagine that they let him do anything with his mobility.
Yeah, but they're
Greg, you don't believe it though.
Yeah.
You think they're going to get torched on the ground, it seems.
Well, here's the problem with the Niners. It's been their problem since they drafted Nick Bosa, honestly, and they've gone to the wide 9. These guys are not playing the run. They're playing all gas, no brakes. So the edge rushers in particular are screaming upfield, and they often rush past the quarterback, get pushed past the quarterback.
Sure.
Once you run past the quarterback, if he wants to scramble, it's a green light. It's a freaking super highway. A lot of quarterbacks don't. Daniel Jones does. So Jarrett Stidham took that against the Niners and helped the Raiders put up 30 plus. So they can't do that. You got to be more disciplined. They talk about being disciplined in your rush lanes. Yeah, but the wide 9 isn't really coached that way. So it's kind of why the Niners frequently have had this issue. We'll see.
Do you think it would be disappointing if this game was close? Because the way that I see it is last week, the game was a lot closer than we expected, but there was a lot of reasons you can point to. 1 being it's a division game. 2 being week 1, you had to travel all the way across the country and come back. Your second road game to start the season. It made a lot of sense why that game was close. And you're playing against, when healthy, a very, very good quarterback, a good coach, and Aaron Donald's still on that team. With all the injuries that the Giants have being the home opener, I would be a little disappointed if they don't win this game going away.
True. I would as well. I just want to point out that the Giants scored 31 points in the second half last week. Is that correct?
Was it 31 in the second half?
Let me make sure. Giants, where are you? Giants.
I know they were down big against Arizona. I didn't realize it all.
Yeah, they scored 31 in the second half. So I don't know what's going on with them, but maybe they figured something out. And if Steve Wilkes plays that super soft, passive zone coverage against him, I don't know, man. This team has more firepower than the Rams, which had, not that much.
Do they, though, without Saquon? I don't know that they do. They've got Waller, got Slayton.
I like Jalen Hyatt. He's dangerous, but he's a rookie.
Yeah.
It's fast.
I don't know that they do.
Beat you once. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Chris
They do have
Talerico
Matt
says
Breida, though. They have Breida. So let's
watch out for Matt Breida. Chris Talerico says, don't tell Kyle to sit BA. Now he's going to run him up the middle up by 30. So true. So true. Plumagod42 says, been thinking about this the past few days. Hypothetically, if Wilkes struggles and Saleh gets fired from New York Jets, would the Niners bring back Saleh?
Ooh. That's
maybe
interesting.
Although he might not want to like come back. He might want to go do his own thing. Don't know. Yeah. Basic hot dog no bun says trap game possible. Keep up the QC Grant. Always possible. Always possible. West Coast J says the same man that never takes his players out late in a blowout game is the same man we're asking to rest Ayuk. True. It's not going to happen. Never going to happen. What are we talking about?
Kyle, don't rest Brandon Ayuk. I wouldn't rest Brandon Ayuk at all.
Yeah,
actually.
I think it'd be
I would
really
play
stupid.
Him every snap.
The smartest guy in the room would play him every snap. Brian Berquist says Breida will be the starter. How's his health? Good question.
Yeah, that's true.
I never quite know. All right. This is the title of the show. Stock up, stock down for 3 players or coaches on the team. Let's start with stock up.
Let's go back and forth so that way we don't steal each other's, I guess. We might have some overlap here. All right, stock up. Number 1, Kyle Shanahan. I've got multiple reasons for this. After that first game, there was the video that was released where he embraced Brock in the locker room. I thought that was a little moment, but I think it spoke volumes as far as how much he's behind Brock. After this last game, he did 2 things that were impressive to me. 2 things that if he hadn't done in the past, I would have definitely called them out. One was they asked him about Brock Purdy and his play, and he easily and would have in the past been like, yeah, he missed those. He's got to do better. But he really kind of took the onus on himself a little bit, which was great to see. And the next day, when he was questioned about playing Christian McCaffrey, even though we all know that it is on the running backs coach or the position group coaches to sub guys in and out, he said, and he took full responsibility, I have to notice that he's been in all game. I can't let that happen going forward. I think that is showing major growth from Kyle Shanahan, not necessarily something that any of us expected. I love it. I have to call it out when I see it. Kyle Shanahan, stock up.
Let's see if he follows through, but I like the way he's talking.
Yes.
Diamador Lenore. That interception to seal the game was really, really nice. Yeah. He was in perfect coverage. He ran the route for the receiver, turned his head. He made the pick, sealed the game. Nothing against Isaiah Oliver. I mean, he was in the right place, the right time, and took advantage of a nice tip ball. And that's not easy. But what Lenore did was really, really, really hard. And ever since like week 18 last year, is that a week? Week 18? Week 18. Yeah. It feels like he's been in the zone. It feels like he's the best corner on the team. And it feels like you really shouldn't throw his way. Like if you do 3, 4, 5 times in a game, he's going to pick you off. It's quite interesting to see. I really feel like he's the best corner on the team.
Right now, he might be playing the best football. You might be right about that. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. All right, stock up. Jake Moody.
Hey.
Let's not forget that Jake Moody, first of all, drafted in the 3rd round. That upset a lot of people, myself included. He missed a ton of kicks in the preseason. Then he got injured. There was no reason to believe that he would come in and do what he's been doing. He's been absolutely perfect. Everything has been down the middle. He really couldn't have made these kicks look any easier, including a 57-yarder that in previous years, that hasn't been a part of this team. That wouldn't have been able to bail the offense out. They likely would have either gone for it on 4th down or they would have had to punt. That was a crucial time in that game. He drilled it, made it look easy, had yards to spare. Jake Moody right now, stock up.
Yes. And what's interesting is like week 1, if you go back 2 weeks, feels like a long time ago, but a big storyline going to that game was Jake Moody. And a lot of people picked the Steelers to win that game specifically because they thought Jake Moody would blow it based on what he did in the preseason. And so far, that hasn't been a storyline at all. It's kind of interesting. Highly.
It is. It is. Yep.
All right.
Well,
stock
up for you.
Oh, stock up? I thought we'd do 3.
Well, I was going to say 3 each, but if you don't have any more,
sure,
I've got more.
No, I can do that.
I've got more.
No, I can do that.
Okay.
I was ready to go stock down. I was a little excited to go stock down.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, you chomping at the bit over there. I see it.
How about Juwan Jennings?
Ooh, I
Guy's
like it.
making really big catches down the field, not dropping the ball. Looks like he's dialed in a contract year, and he's going to get paid handsomely either by the Niners or someone else. Juwan Jennings looks to be the best he's been, laying out some incredible blocks as well.
Yeah, most definitely. Let's go with another player in the secondary, Isaiah Oliver.
Okay.
Questionable. They paid him decent money. A lot of people thought he was not good during the preseason and in training camp. Week 1 wasn't the best, but this last week he made 3 plays that were crucial to winning that game. Obviously, we saw the interception and the sack. Those stand out in the box score, but really the drive before the sack, he was one-on-one with Kyron Williams out in the flat. And if Kyron Williams gets a first down there, that game could have been completely different. Isaiah Oliver pushed him out of bounds, stopped that drive, dead in the water. Isaiah Oliver, stock up.
I like it. I like it. One more.
All right.
Do
You
I have
got
to
one
do
more?
another one?
I can do another
All right.
one.
Positive, positive, positive. You do one more.
Okay. John Lynch.
Okay. That's a good one.
So he came out yesterday and talked about how they are working with the salary cap money that they've got available to them right now. And one thing that I was frustrated with was resetting the contract or reworking the deal with Kittle and Armstead. I never think it's a good idea to kick the can down the road on players that are 30 plus years old making big money. However, what the 49ers are doing with this money or seem to be doing, they may use a little bit of it towards a trade, but they're going to roll over a lot of money next year, which is essentially as if they had front loaded Bosa's deal. That is going to give them flexibility going into next year to still not only pay everybody and keep them under contract, but also have some money to play with in free agency if they choose to do that. I think that flexibility is going to be huge if they maintain it through this trade deadline. I like what they are doing with that money. I think it's very, very smart and forward thinking.
Great answer. I love that one. Got to give John Lynch his credit, his props.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's go negative now. I've been waiting.
Yeah, you have. Why don't you go first? I don't want to take this spotlight from you.
Steve Wilkes. 17 points in the first half. He made nice halftime adjustments, but you can't be coming out playing that passive with that kind of talent. I feel like he's not used to having this much talent on his defense. He hasn't coached a defense like this before. And he's playing like he has nobodies out there. Real safe. Like he wants to win with his offense, which is fine. But the Niners have been winning with defense for like 5 or 6 years. And they have so much money invested in that defensive line. For them to just play so far off kind of negates that entire advantage. You got to like force the quarterback to hold the ball for like 2 seconds. And he wasn't doing that in the first half. It's a little concerning. I'm not sure if he's ready to do this or if he's just getting acquainted with his new players. So Steve Wilkes.
Yeah, I mean, definitely playing soft zone the way that they did. And that's you're allowing the other team to take your pass rush out of the game when you do that. If you're not willing to play press man and get in the face of receivers, especially receivers that aren't near as talented as some others in this league, you can't allow them to just completely take the pass rush out of the game. And that's exactly what they were doing. That certainly can be a concern later on in the season if he doesn't figure that out. I think in the second half he started to, but that can't happen throughout the course of the season. You might lose a game because of it. Okay, let me go Spencer Burford. So one of the things that I talked about going into this season was even if McKivitz is a little bit of a downgrade from Mike McGlinchey, I think the offensive line can be slightly better than it was last year because you've got the 3 guys in the middle of that offensive line that essentially started for the first time in their careers last year. It seems feasible that all 3 of them can take a step forward. Burford has not done that. He might have regressed so far early in this season. He does not look good at all. Everybody's putting a lot of focus on McKivitz and did that in the first game. I think Burford struggled just as much, if not worse, in the first game. And in this game, he did have some moments that were better, but he's got to continue to show this improvement, and he's got to get there quickly because if he can't show that improvement and McKivitz is who McKivitz is kind of shown to be, they're in a lot of trouble in some big-time games against big-time pass rushing teams that have talent all over the defense like the Dallas Cowboys, have talent all over the offense like the Dallas Cowboys. These complete teams can expose the 49ers on the right side. Spencer Burford has to get better, and he has to get better quickly.
I agree. I'm going to go there and say Nick Bosa, acknowledging that he's still an excellent player, making an impact and racking up pressures. But he's the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. He's paid to sack the quarterback. And here's just a little stat. Last 7 games, you know how many sacks he has? Last 7. 1. Uno. Before then, in the previous 15, he had 17 and a half. So he was on like a sack a game pace for a long time. And then something happened. I mean, they can point to him not being football shape yet or whatever, but this goes back to last regular season. I have no idea what's going on. Has the league figured out Nick Bosa to an extent? Are they able to not shut him down, but like limit him? Or I can't even begin to explain what's going on. But 1 sack in the last 7 games is maybe an aberration, but it's definitely un-Bosa.
Yeah, I mean, I think he get it turned around, but
I would expect it too. This week against the backup left tackle. Let's see it.
yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a good point. You would think he's going to get it turned around, and that's the expectation. And he is putting up some important numbers that may not show as well as sacks. But here's the problem that the 49ers have. If this is mostly who he is, and I don't believe that to be the case, by the way, but let's say that he regresses big time in the sack category. And Armstead, we already know, gets paid a lot of money, doesn't get a lot of sacks himself, but he's always around. He's always pushing the quarterback into other people. If you've got 2 guys making that kind of money that aren't getting you the sack numbers, that does become an issue. I think Bosa will step up. I'm not too worried about it, but right now he's clearly not in football shape, and he'll get his legs under him. He'll be okay. But for now, yeah, I mean, you get paid that kind of money, you would expect the production in all the categories, right?
Yeah, he set the bar so high for so long. It's just strange. No explanation.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I don't know. Yeah, I get it. I get where you're coming from. Okay.
And it should end this week. I expect it to end this week.
Yeah. All right. That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
How about George Kittle? Where's he been? Because what's interesting to me, when I went back and I watched the game film on the Pittsburgh Steelers, I expected to see him attached at the hip of McKivitz. And that was not the case. McKivitz was out there alone a lot. George Kittle has ran plenty of routes. Where has he been? This guy is a superstar tight end who gets paid a lot of money. Also, they pushed his money back, as I just mentioned a few minutes ago, which means they're locked into his contract even longer. He has to start to produce. And the reason that I would say stock down too for him is because his stock was so high with Brock Purdy last year. The chemistry was clearly there. The touchdown production was there. George Kittle looked like prime George Kittle again. I expected that to take off again from week 1, and we just haven't seen it yet. So I would say George Kittle for right now, stock down.
Yeah, I would agree. And I feel like he's kind of been this way for almost 2 seasons. This is why I was talking about trading him before last year. I feel like he's at the stage of his career where he paces himself. And like he can still have great games. He may have a great game on Thursday night, home opener, primetime. He just might rise up. But I feel like it's few and far between at this stage of his career. 4 years ago, he'd take over games routinely. Maybe he'll do that this weekend. I kind of expect he will. Let's keep going. Travarius Ward.
Okay.
Maybe it's how they're using him, but he came from Kansas City. He was playing press man-to-man coverage in Kansas City. They brought him in here to play press man-to-man coverage with Emmanuel Mosley. And the whole idea was to get the opposing quarterback to hold the ball an extra beat so that he would get sacked. But now, I don't know what Steve Wilkes is doing. He's got Travarius Ward playing like 10 yards off the ball, playing zone coverage like he's Josh Norman running a 4.7 or something. It's just so strange, and he's not good at it. He just looked like he was trailing everything. He was a step slow every time. Doesn't seem like he's the kind of guy who anticipates particularly well from off-zone coverage. Maybe it's not his fault, but like, man, Lenore's playing better than you, making a lot less.
It is interesting. Ambry Thomas, Travarius Ward, Isaiah Oliver, Womack, these guys were all press man corners for 3 years, I've been talking about the 49ers are going to play more press man than they ever have, and it just has not happened. For whatever reason, you've went and got a team full of press man corners, and then you play zone. I don't
Yeah.
understand that. You've got to play to these players' strengths. And when we saw it, when they went to a cover 2 man this last week, we saw how beneficial it was. They started
Yeah.
making mistakes. They started forcing those mistakes. So why not do that more often? I don't know if that's a Shanahan thing or a Wilkes thing, because like I said, it was here with the previous tenure as well. But man, it is a weird look to go and get all those press man corners and then be like, yeah, we're gonna play zone. I don't get that.
Yeah, and if you're gonna play 8 yards off all across the board, like, you're just gonna concede quick throws to players like Puka Nacua. Like, make
Mhm.
him run a route. Make him beat someone. I'm not sure that he
Yeah.
can. Or prove him that make him prove that he can. And they didn't.
Yeah.
Anyone else
Push
you
them
got?
off and reroute them. Yeah, I've got one more. Anybody in the backfield not named CMC?
Yeah, seriously, what the
Like,
hell?
these guys are either not TDP's not even suiting up for games. Jordan Mason and Mitchell, I mean, not necessarily their fault, but they're just not even seeing the field. And Kyle Juszczyk yet again makes a ton of money and is playing like I don't know for sure, but it feels like about 30% of the snaps. I don't understand it. They've got a bevy of talented players in that backfield not named CMC, and none of them are being used. So I would say stock down for the whole backfield that's not CMC.
He's playing 53% of the snaps, and you would never notice it.
Yeah, it
You would never
feels more
notice it.
like 30.
It's crazy. I agree. All right, let's play the more than or less than game, sponsored by PrizePicks. If you want to play along with us, go to PrizePicks, click the link in the description, use my promo code, and let's get right to it. For this game, Thursday night, let's start with Brandon Ayuk, more than or less than 53.5 receiving yards. You betting on
Hold on a
that?
second. Hold on a second. First of all, I'm not going to let you breeze over the fact that you're 0-2 at this point in the
Ooh, let's
season.
talk
All
about it.
right.
Let's talk
Let's
about
make
it.
sure that everybody knows that I've got a 2-week lead on you. This
Yeah.
is what happened last year, Grant. I don't know if you remember. I had about a 6-week lead on you. And then the final half of the season, you came storming back. We ended up tying by the end of the season when it was all said and done. So hopefully I don't let this lead go, but I like where I'm starting. 2-0 lead for the good guys. I'm winning.
I like that. I like that. And I'm going to make a big push at the end, just like last year. I got to get focused. I got to get locked in.
Okay, great. All right. All right.
All right. So,
Brandon
Brandon,
Ayuk,
you think he's playing? You think he's going to make a big impact?
I wonder what Price Picks and some of these other sites do if they don't play. I got to imagine they give that one back to you. So let's assume he's playing. And if he's not, maybe we'll take this one off the board. It's up to you. But
Mhm.
I'm gonna say less than again. I said less than last week. I just feel like if he does
You're
play, he'll
right.
be a decoy. And to me, I, I wouldn't use him a ton. I would. I think he'll likely play, but he won't play a lot of snaps. He'll be a decoy. I'm gonna say less than. I feel like that's the safe bet here.
I agree. I mean, I don't even know that he's going to play. I would bet on him not playing, but if he does,
Yeah.
50, he didn't even get there last week. So I
Yeah.
would think no. Let's go with the Brock Purdy weekly, more than or less than 222. I'm sorry, 227.5. I'm really tired. 227.5, more than or less than.
I mean, he's been less than this both the weeks, but the Giants just seem to be allowing everybody to go off, including Dobbs last week. Brock Purdy is much better than Dobbs, and I don't know, man. I also think that they're going to blow him out and they may not need him to throw. I'm going to go less than, and not because I don't think he can do it, but I just don't think he's going to get a lot of attempts and that they're going to win this game handily and they're going to run a lot. So I'll say less than.
Let's see how many yards Josh Dobbs threw for last week. I'm just curious. Do you know?
I don't
It
know, but I know
was
that he ran all over him too.
okay. Hold on. Game logs. Josh Dobbs. He threw for 228. Okay, kind of the exact number.
Yeah.
Let's say Ayuk doesn't play and they run the ball a lot and it's a blowout. Yeah, I'm gonna go less than as well. I'm gonna go
I
less
think it's
than
a good
as
one.
well. I'm just stealing yours. Okay, Christian McCaffrey, more than or less than 79.5 rushing yards.
Last week they had him at like 60 something, and I said that was criminal. There's no way he was going to get less than that. This week, 79 is an interesting number, only because I want to believe Kyle that he's going to give him a lot more rest. But I feel like they're going to run the ball like crazy. He seems to be breaking a big one every week. Even if he gets 15 carries, I got to imagine he goes more than. I'm going to go more than until proven otherwise.
I agree. I feel like this is easy money. Christian McCaffrey, he should be at like 100 every week. And if you give me 79.5, I'm taking more than, because it seems like he's on a mission. The Niners are on a mission to make him the offensive player of the year. It just feels that way. Maybe I'm wrong. How about, we were talking about him earlier, George Kittle, 43.5 receiving yards for George Kittle.
I don't think there's going to be a lot to go around, but I've already got BA with less than. I went more than last week, and he disappointed me. Kittle, I'm going more than this week, but this is the last week if you prove me wrong again, because you might be the reason that I lose this week. I'm going to go more than. I have a feeling Grant is going to go less than. We'll see.
I'm going more than. We keep doing the same ones. We're going to have to find something different eventually. But I think, like, if Ayuk doesn't play a primetime game, I think Kittle's going to want to be featured in the game plan. I think he's going to have to be featured in the game plan. He hasn't done much this year. Be about time. Be a nice time for George Kittle to step up with 8 targets.
Yeah. Okay.
So I could see him getting more than, and let's do one more Niner, and then we'll do a Giant.
Okay.
Nick Bosa. 1 tackle for loss.
It's not even a sack, just a tackle for loss.
Just tackle for loss.
More than. I don't
Me
feel
too.
good
It feels
about
like,
it.
this feels like easy money, and we haven't disagreed yet. But that feels like against a backup left tackle. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do Giants. Let's do Giants.
Gonna be a Danny Dimes one.
Yeah, let's do Daniel Dimes. More than no, that's not the one I want. How about
do the rushing one? Oh, all-purpose.
Yards.
Is that an all-purpose
rushing
one?
yards? You do have all-purpose. How about 254 all-purpose? How about that? Hold on, let me get rid of Daniel Jones. Boom, 254 all-purpose.
Man, he averages a little over 40 yards rushing a game dating back to last year. He was a 700-yard rusher. That's quite a bit. I don't trust him throwing, although they're going to be behind. He's going to have to. I'm going to go more than 254.5 all-purpose yards.
Okay. I'm going to go less than, because we got to disagree on something. And I feel like he's not like Matthew Stafford. He's not going to check the ball down over and over again. He's going to hold it, and he could, get sacked, fumble. So those are our picks. Brandon Ayuk less than 53.5 receiving yards. Brock Purdy more than 227.5, less than 227.5 receiving yards. Christian McCaffrey more than 79.5 rushing yards. George Kittle more than 43.5 receiving yards. Nick Bosa more than 1 tackle for loss, and Daniel Jones, I have him at less than 254.5 pass and rush yards. Jesse has him at more than. If you want to bet, if you want to make an entry, go to PrizePicks, click the link, use my promo code. All right.
Out of curiosity, too, if you're playing along, Grant, do you have a email attached to the channel at all that anybody can email you on or anything like that?
No, I don't. I got to get one. That's not my personal one.
Yeah. Go get one attached. I want to see if anybody's actually winning and if they're playing alongside of us, if they're taking my bets or if they're taking your bets. And if you're winning, send in pictures of your slips. I'd be curious to see who's winning on these.
Dave Barclay, $100. Thank you so much, Dave. Says, good evening, gentlemen. Long night ahead of me as I'm driving to California tonight. Death in the family.
Oh, man, I'm sorry.
We don't need Ayuk against Giants, I hope. Please use Mason Moore and CMC. Let's please. How much I miss. Love you both and Pops. It was my adopted Pops I lost. Sorry, Dave.
Sorry to hear that.
Drive safe.
Dave, just a little connection here. Today, my dad, who, rests in peace, would have been 63. Today would have been his 63rd birthday. So I feel you, Dave. I feel you.
Man, that's still young. Rest in peace. Dave, thank you. I feel you, Dave. And hit that like button, please. A lot in here. Thank you, Dave. Stephen Pryor. Sorry for your loss, Dave Barclay. Khalil Kemp, awesome. Growth from Kyle Shanahan. Hot seat confirmed. Mike drops with Monza says Kyle's stock attached to Super Bowl win. Stock waiting, and I say that because his choices during the season will dictate outcome of Super Bowl run. Week 2 is too early. He's silking Kyle all over himself. Sure, but he's stock up for a minute. Dave Barclay says, Kyle, you've averaged 26 touches or more in 2 games with CMC. You know running backs get hurt easily. What happens if CMC gets hurt? Follow up. What happened to running back room by committee when you won the NFC? Good questions.
He rides
Monza
the hot
says,
hand, man.
He always does. Monza says, shout out Jesse on Moody. Draft day reaction epic. Frank Tom Ocean says, dynamic duo. Thanks, gentlemen. Thank you. Who is the new cornerback? Says Dave Barclay. Anthony Brown. Started for a long time with the Cowboys. Tore his Achilles last year.
I've got 2 Cowboys. One's a friend and one's a content creator that I reached out to, and they both basically said the same thing. They said he's better in the slot than he is outside. He doesn't necessarily fit the physical nature of the 49ers, but if he plays in the slot, he can be decent. They would prefer, or we should prefer, that he doesn't play a lot, though, because he definitely can get toasted if he's playing outside. So there you go.
Mike drops with Monza says Armstead stock skyrocketing after last year. How could it not? MD 2020 says, is it me or is Lenore starting to become the Debo in his position? He's looking really, really good.
His body's completely changed, too.
Completely. Dave Barclay says, Grant, spell stream right when taking a poll? Maybe. Oh, no. Did I put steam in there? I'm really tired. I didn't sleep much last night. Dave Barclay says, love you guys.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, Dave. D-Flow says, why y'all talk like you know more than Kyle? Come on now. Have you not seen this show before? Ever?
Ever?
Stephen Pryor says, you guys went over stock up and stock down. Can you guys give top 3 players most likely to join Cabo Click and 3 players voted off Island? Got to ask the hard questions. Talanoa, Ayuk is overdue, and
Brock's in there.
Hargrave.
Brock's in there too, yeah.
No doubt.
For sure.
Chris Telerico says, up, Drake, Lenore, Moody down, Bosa, Brock, can't leave wide open TDs on the field. Kyle, overworking CMC, not pulling starters. I got to say, Brock's stock's a little down after those throws. It's a little bit.
I think Brock, 2 games in, because we're doing a 2-game snapshot, I would say Brock's right where we kind of would expect him to be. I mean, I don't think last game was an awful game by any means. I give it a C. I think he was a B+, A-ish the first game. So I think he's right where I would expect him to be.
I feel
coming
like
off
some
of
Niner fans were saying he was like a top 5 quarterback coming out of week 1. They were like,
well, I think
Josh
for
Allen
them,
too?
Yeah. They did say those things. You're right.
Bill Kennedy says, I hate Thursday night football. I think it's bad for the players, especially ones that need to travel. I'll be watching tomorrow. Your thoughts? Agree with all of that.
Absolutely.
It's terrible. The Niners should win by a lot. Stock up. HR says Papa Cohn, he's been on fire this season. Oh, yeah. Monza says, I think what we see in Wilkes' version of what Kyle wants and what I think Kyle favors cover 3 Seattle ran. Kyle aids at half, and with game plan, he's the DC 1A. Yeah, I think he wants zone by yeah. Kev F says, glad you guys didn't gaslight viewers, old media YouTube. Yeah, well. Willie Mendoza says, how can you live in Florida, Jesse? Just arrived in Miami. I'm on my way to Orlando. This muggy weather sucks. Enjoy.
You're in the worst time of the year, man. Basically, for 8 months out of the year, it's fantastic, but you're right in the prime hot time, rainy time of the year. In Orlando and Miami are a lot more humid than Tampa, so I'll also say that.
Dave says, fans are good people in here. I love it. Yeah. Dave says, thank you, everyone. Of course, we signed an injury. Yep. Yeah. Mike V. Skate, $2. Thank you very much. All right, last topic. Does this team have certain things in common with the 2019 team that went to the Super Bowl?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we can go back and forth if you want. I've got 3 things that I've got written down personally. I think the first thing that really stands out to me is how stout they are up the middle. I mean, not only with the linebackers, but you've got Armstead and you've got Hargrave, or as Shannon Sharp calls him, Jerome Hargrove. You've got those 2 up the middle. It reminds me,
an impact player, Jerome.
Jerome Hargrove, so good.
Yeah,
but yes, the being stout up the middle was something that 2019 team had and was so crucial to their success. I think they've replicated that again this year with 2 very good players up the middle. Of course, you've got the very good linebackers to follow that up as well. I think that is a big difference between maybe this team and last couple years team. They've gotten back to that a little bit.
Absolutely. The 4-man pass rush is similar. But I don't know. I mean, Saleh was so dialed in that year. He was so good. Is Wilkes as good as Saleh? We'll see. Also, Brock Purdy seems like better than Jimmy Garoppolo, although also unable to hit the deep throw. So maybe that's another thing they have in common. And Christian McCaffrey is just, I mean, Mostert was good too, though. Be nice they're on the same team.
Mostert
was
wasn't
good,
good all season, but Mostert in that playoff run was about as elite as it gets. Yeah, I would say the two other things that I think this team has in common. Well, one, first of all, if the 49ers win on Thursday, tomorrow, which they should, this is the second time that a Shanahan-led 49ers team has started 3-0. The other time was 2019. We obviously know that they started 8-0. But that would be a huge feather in their cap. The other thing is this. One thing we can say about Brock Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo is both of them were coming off of major injury the year prior, and both of them relatively unproven young players. So I think they definitely have that in common. Now, obviously, different players. I think Brock Purdy's better than Jimmy Garoppolo. He just has more tools at his tool belt. But overall, a lot of similarities there with the coming off injury and both being relatively unproven.
It's a good point. It's a good point. Starting to look like this is a team that could get the number 1 seed and make some noise in the playoffs.
How are you feeling about their overall record? I mean, not that your mind should change after beating the Rams and the Steelers, who you picked them anyways to win, but are you starting to see a path here where they should win the division? I know that you picked Seattle, but that they should win the division and might potentially be the number 1 seed. I think that's the most important thing. Do you see a path to the number 1 seed with this team?
Absolutely. I mean, I think we always assume the Niners are going to get injured. They're just going to have a bunch of guys go down. That hasn't happened so far. And really, they're on like a 12-game regular season winning streak, something like 12. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
12, 13.
Something like that.
So with McCaffrey on the field, they should be winning their games. They have way too much talent for them to like have trap games. Like their talent should win out every time or again this week. And I think they were a lot like that in 2019, especially after they traded for Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this whole thing and the way it's setting up, you've got Cleveland that just lost Chubb. That is the game after Dallas. Really, if you get through that stretch past Cleveland, I mean, it's going to be tough to beat these guys until later in the season.
They suck.
Yep.
Minnesota sucks.
Yep. So some of those later games, I think the Seattle games, those are division games. Those are going to be tough. I think that last Rams game might be tough as well, especially if Cooper Kupp is back. I assume he would be. The Ravens game, the Eagles game, I think from like week 10 on, it does get pretty tough and you could see a couple losses, but they can make it past Dallas in this early stretch. Man, they might just start out 8-0 just like they did in 2019.
Cool. I'm excited. That was a good year for everyone.
Yeah, it was.
Stephen Pryor says Moody's replacing Juice's spot in the click. Moody.
Okay, fair enough.
Stephen MP says, I feel Kyle's allegiant change in behavior and his going for it on 4th in the last 2 weeks. He knows he has to win a Super Bowl this year, and perhaps the Yorks put him on early notice. You know, there's something about that. Real quick, in 2019, he was coming off back-to-back losing seasons, and I think it's kind of understood as a head coach that you basically can't miss the playoffs your first 3 years and keep your job. I'm not saying he was in the hot seat, but I think he knew there was a little bit of urgency to have a good year. And look what he did. And then they gave him an extension. And then he's had some slow starts ever since. So now if he has some urgency again, hey, maybe that's going to bring out the best in Kyle. We've already seen the best in Kyle recently.
It's like Kyle's in a contract year, even though he's not.
Kind of. In a prove-it year. Jay Good says, going to week 5 games. Staying in San Jose, is the nightlife there worth it, or should I head to SF? Taking recommendations, please. Thank you. I don't partake in nightlife. I'm 35 years old.
It's so true, though. It's so true. I love it.
You kidding me?
I couldn't even get Grant to come out past like 10 o'clock when we were in Pittsburgh. He's like, I'm tired. I'm going to sleep. Like, all right, dude. Jeez. Come out one night. Oh, I can't. Okay.
That's our show. I'm going to bed early tonight. I'm tired. I'm not feeling great, but it was a good show. I had a really good show. And it was nice. I'm going to have a definitive win over you in the more than or less than because
Danny Dimes.
I picked one different than you.
I guess I'm putting all of my eggs in the Danny Dimes basket. I don't know that I feel great about it, but 3-0 sounds good.
3-0. Thanks for watching, everyone. I will see you